While revolution was brewing yet again, Frederic was going through his own personal revolution. He had fallen in love. It was 1841. He was 28, and Amélie Toulacroix was very much on his mind. They married that year. Far from mellowing his passion for reform, married life seemed to encourage it. With Amélie's support, he accepted a lower salary with a position as lecturer at the Sorbonne. Here in Paris, he could be at the center of Catholic social action. By the following year, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul had 2,000 members in Paris alone. As Frederic noted, the conferences were now assisting 1 in 4 poor families in that city. While membership grew, so too did the pressures within France and the whole of Europe. During this time, Frederic was one of the most prominent Catholic voices calling for social reform. In 1848, revolution swept through France. A new democratic republic was proclaimed. Frederic could not remain silent. Seizing the moment, he and Abbé Maret, a professor of theology, published The New Era, a newspaper supporting the fragile republic. In the turmoil, it became widely read. People either praised it or condemned it. It called for legislation to protect children, a pension for workers who were sick or old, reduced working hours, a graduated income tax instead of indirect taxes, partnership and profit sharing, and compulsory arbitration in industrial disputes. For the ruling class, which was soon to suppress the revolution violently, such reforms were simply unimaginable. Those like Frederic who chose to speak out were placing themselves and those close to them in danger. Just how dangerous the situation was would soon become tragically clear. In June, at the height of the fighting and at Frederic's urging, Archbishop Affre, patron of the new era, went to the barricades. While negotiating peace between the insurgents and the army, Affre, one of the few men both sides respected, was hit by a stray bullet. 3 days later, the wounded Archbishop, Frederic's strongest and most vocal supporter, was dead. It was news throughout Europe. Frederic was devastated. The army went on to crush the workers. A conservative wave swept through France. Liberty, equality, fraternity was now a forbidden catch cry. The church found itself caught in the conservative tide, and with the death of the archbishop, it became virtually silent on social issues. Frederic's dream of a church that strongly promoted social reform was pushed into the wings. Frederic himself would not live long enough to see it return to center stage. Ironically, this same year saw the publishing of the then little-known Communist Manifesto. It will be 43 years before the church responded with its own social manifesto on the condition of the working class by Pope Leo XIII. Despite the tragedy, Frederic remained outspoken, urging concerned Catholics to work through the Society of St. Vincent de Paul to stand by the poor in every possible way and to be with them in their suffering. The strain of recent events and repeated bouts of pleurisy were beginning to take their toll. Frederic's health was declining rapidly. Despite Amélie's care and encouragement, Frederic, now only 35, was bedridden for months at a time. He had 5 years to live. Seeking a remedy, he and Amélie decided to travel to warmer climates with their only child, Marie. For Frederic, there was no time like the present, and travel presented new opportunities. He began nurturing conferences throughout France, Italy, and beyond. By his 39th birthday, just 19 years since the first conference met, the Society had grown to more than 40,000 members across Europe and the Americas. At every opportunity, he combined his skills, scholar, journalist, and political activist, to advance the rights of the working class and the poor. He remained one of the strongest voices for social reform in the French church. Those governing France were by now inward-looking and tired of reform. Frederic spoke passionately for change. They were listening. In 1853, halfway through the century he so much wanted to change, Frederic died. Many of his friends, his wife Amélie and his young daughter Marie, were by his side. He was 40. In his final days, Frederic asked, "Why should I fear the God I love so much?" Fear never ruled Frederic Ozanam's life. When he felt he should act, he acted. When he felt he should speak out for the poor, or for his faith, or for a more just society, he refused to remain silent. He inspired his friends to see the challenge before them and to act. It was their time, their century, their chance to share liberty, equality, fraternity. Today, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul has spread to some 130 countries. Through its 900,000 members, the work and inspiration of Frederic and his friends